Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ask James. My name is James. I'm one half of the Planet FPL podcast. And for the benefit of the audio listeners, you are listening to my regular Friday Ask James YouTube live stream where I welcome questions from the YouTube public in the chat. And I will essentially answer anything football related in the chat. For those who've been waiting on YouTube, apologies. I went to upload the video and it just wouldn't go live. I don't know what was happening. I was having the wheel of death. It was like trying to get a Spurs ticket online. It was just spinning round forever. I was like, sod this. So I'd set up a new stream. Let's get into the chat. For those in the chat, anything football related as usual, I'll get yourself covered. Obviously, it's going to probably, I expect to be quite a lot of FPL emphasis on this. But yeah, get it all in, anything football related, and I'll get you covered. Cole Coote is in the chat. Says, good afternoon. Hello, Cole. I hope you're well. Andy Martin, our chat man, FPL hero, or one of, should I say, is in the chat. Says, great clash of the correspondence yesterday. Enjoyed it this morning. Good, that, weren't it? Really insightful stuff from FPL Pringle and 352. And for those who might have missed last week's with Adam Hopcroft and Tomo at FPL_Blade on Villa Sheffield United, I'd strongly recommend listening back to that as well. You've got I wouldn't say inside information, but you've got insight from supporters of clubs on all four of the teams who are going to double in game week 30. I think that's absolutely invaluable information to potentially be taken into next week, irrespective of what your final decisions are going to be. So, yeah, really important podcast yesterday and also the one last week with Adam and Tomo as well. And I've got a bonus Clash of the Correspondence coming up for you before the restart as well. We'll be releasing a podcast with Ricky Saunders and Gary Robinson, who's at his My Cat plan. We'll be talking Tottenham and Manchester United. We're going to release that on Tuesday rather than Thursday next week. So you've got a little bit of an extra alternative to look at two other teams before the restart as well. Lots of interest, I think, particularly in Manchester United. And Ricky may have some very different opinions to myself on the likes of sort of Kane and Son, whether people should be going in or not. So we're going to get that to you on Tuesday ahead of the deadline as well. And then you've got Wednesday to do what you want. Even our Sky podcast Wednesday, we'll put that out as early as possible on Wednesday to give you all sort of clear headspace. Go and make your final decisions so you haven't got too much info getting bombarded at you on the day itself. Brad Lewington's in the chats this afternoon. And he's also saying that I think a lot will include perhaps 2 or 3 single game weekers this week. If Trent is one, then it's probably one Wolves asset and one Man United one. Your preference? I think the 3 that you'll commonly see are Fernandes, Jimenez, and Alexander-Arnold. I think that's what you'll commonly see. I don't think you'll see too many bench boosting with the likes of Mane or Salah, because I just think then it becomes really difficult to fit in Aubameyang and 2 Man City big hitters as well, if you will. What I've decided to do is I was at first thought was decided I was going to go Alexander-Arnold, Jimenez and Doherty. I'm only 0.1 up on Doherty, so I think I'm going to sacrifice Doherty and I'm actually going to go Jamal Lascelles as my other sub, and I will have I'm going to bench boost almost certainly, and I'll have I'm probably going to be Leno and Henderson, I think. Or Henderson and Ederson. I haven't decided yet, but it'll be 2 of those 3 for absolute certainty. Leno would definitely be one of them. That's absolutely nailed. The reason for me thinking towards Lascelles now is I'm probably not going to wild card straight away. I'm going to probably free hit in 32 and then wild card in 33. That's now my thinking. And looking at Doherty versus Lascelles, it's not so much a case of Doherty versus Lascelles. We all pick Doherty. I think that's fairly straightforward and obvious. It's what I can do with the other 2 million makes me a lot stronger for the double game week. And Newcastle's 2 single game week fixtures are Sheffield United and Aston Villa, who are hardly free scoring. And I just think the idea of Jamal Lascelles, big tasty himself on a bench boost for me works. It probably won't work for everybody. But just going the one cheapie who I'd absolutely trust to play both of those single game week fixtures as Newcastle's captain, he's a nice way in for me. And yeah, they're rubbish, but he costs next to nothing. Anything he returns is a bonus. If it's 2 points, great. I'm fine with that. I'd actually prefer the clean sheet in the following week against Villa because that's part of it. If I hold on to him, I'll probably start him against Villa. That's in my thinking at the moment. So, but yeah, those bench boosting are obviously going to have single game weekers in their team. I think Liverpool and Wolves will be the main two, Andy. I think Fernandes at value-wise, it depends what people have bought, right? So those who bought Fernandes at 8 million, I bet will hold, and he'll be part of their teams. TAA, I'm up 0.8 on, had him from day one, and more than happy to have some sort of Liverpool asset in a single fixture for them. Jimenez, I'm not up a huge amount of value, so like 0.5 or something, but like having him for obviously the following week as well when they've got Bournemouth. So that's the route that I'm currently on, I think. Hello, Perlo's Pen. How you doing? Brad Lewin also says, do you think refs will take this as an opportunity to change the way they use VAR, i.e. more use of the screen? That's a good question, Brad. I think the answer to that is yes, isn't it? It's got to be. The experience of watching VAR on the telly is nowhere near as bad as it is in a football stadium. Because on the telly, you can see replays. It's kind of very clear what's happening. My major frustration is in being in a stadium and just not having a clue and being frightened to celebrate goals and the like. So I think, yeah, with no pressure of crowd booing or anything like that, it makes complete sense to use the on-screen, the screens on the side of the pitch and take longer over decision making. That makes complete sense. And if it starts to work, then it might be something that benefits the restart as well. But to get it fixed in stadiums, it's just going to be an absolute fucking mess. They sort out this bollocks with offside because people are too scared to shout goal. We know. Estein Ori Mathiasson asked me for an opinion on draft fantasy and says, good afternoon. Hello, mate. Sorry if I butchered your name there, pal. Draft fantasy, I am not very well placed to... I've never played it. I'm not very well placed to make a comment. So I think even me making educated guesses wouldn't be the best thing for me to do. I am taking part in a draft tonight with a few of my patrons for the FPL restart. But I haven't got a Scooby-Doo what I'm doing at the moment. I mean, I need to pick 15 players and we all take it in turns. But to give you advice in terms of how you should approach that, I'm not best placed to answer that. So I'm not even going to attempt to. Rob Pick is in the chat. Hello, Rob. How you doing, mate? Cole Coots says, what are your thoughts on no Mane or Salah? My overall team has better balance without either, but they are obvious captain picks for 31 and 33. So, yeah, one of my escape routes that I'm thinking towards, I'm going without to start with. And obviously, I want a team for 31. And I think I will want Sadio Mane to captain him. Now, to get him back, I will have to take a -4, for example. But I think I could look at something like Aguero down to Vardy will probably be enough to just about find a way to fund it, actually, the way I'm going. I haven't decided yet. It might be I need to look at different routes, go like Aguero to, Dominic Calvert-Lewin level, for example, and then I go Mahrez to Mane, something like that. I need to think that through. I'm definitely going to want Mane for 31, so I'm not against anybody sticking him in obviously, if you're free hitting in 30, I would say no. If you're planning to use the unlimited and then get back to 31, I have no problem with you sticking them in and thinking further ahead. Again, if you're wildcarding straight away in 31, I'd probably say no. I think Everton is a decent fixture to miss out. It's not commonly high scoring. We know that we've got nothing really to go on in terms of behind closed doors. Everton are absolutely going to be up for it. You know that. They'll be desperate at least not to lose. That's a certainty. So I think it's okay to go without Liverpool this week. If you want to go without Trent and the likes, if you haven't got the value holding, I also think that's absolutely fine as well. And for free hitters, absolutely fine to go without if you want to get obviously a full complement of double game weekers if you're going to use your free hit. But yeah, I'm going to want Mane in 31, and then obviously my plan to wildcard in 33 means fine. Although if I haven't bat in 31, it will already be there because my intention is to free hit in game week 32 currently. Just looking at sides who've got sort of attractive fixtures in 31. So obviously Liverpool against Palace, Leicester play Brighton, Wolves, Bournemouth, Burnley, Watford play each other. He's okay, I think. Spurs, different proposition now, potentially play West Ham. Newcastle and Villa play each other. Everton play Norwich. So yeah, for me, I'm thinking something like if I go Aguero to Calvert-Lewin and then Mahrez to Mane, that's going to kind of be where I'm about for sort of a -4 to make that happen for game week 31. That's the general idea at the moment. Danny McDonald says, is Jesus a viable option over Aguero? Between game week 15 and 29, he has better stats, shots in box, XGI, etc. I'm currently using the free transfers and have Jesus, KDB and Mahrez. Danny, I couldn't give a toss about the stats that have gone in the previous 19 game weeks. Sorry about that, my friend. But is he an option? Yes, absolutely. On Yes's Clash of the Correspondents, Adam Pritchard at 352 said he's strongly thinking of going Jesus over Aguero. That's absolutely fine. I just wouldn't base the decisions on stats. I think you'd be better off basing it on what you've seen in previous fixtures between sides. So, for example, Aguero and KDB tend to perform quite well against Arsenal. That's certainly how it feels anyway. But I've not deep dived into the stats. I promise you now, for me to make any decision making on certainly these first 2 game weeks, 30 and 31, I won't be looking at a stat. Nothing on stats. I'm going gut feel and fixtures. None of us know what's going to happen here. None of us know. So I really wouldn't look at stats. Yes, they can be a little bit handy. I guess some of us would look at them for a game week 1 of a new season to look over perhaps, I don't know, the previous 8 of the previous season to see who finished the season well. And yes, you can look at that sort of thing. For example, when I noticed that Danny Ceballos very quietly started Arsenal's last 3 league games before the lockdown, which I hadn't realised that I had a little further look at it. And he might potentially be the sort of filler that I could stick in there. I think he's 5.2, Ceballos. We didn't really speak about him that much yesterday, but he's probably on my radar, actually. But in terms of stats, no. Stats are going to help you with longer-term stuff or on individual head-to-heads. It's not going to help you with the stuff that's going to bite in game week 30, like rotation. And before anyone asks, no, the only Manchester City player that is nailed is Ederson. But I wish you luck with that, Danny. And Jesus is absolutely viable. Yes, it's fine, mate. FPL Andy's in, says hello. Adichia says, is not having Vardy a big risk? Listen, not having many players is a big risk, right? I've just spoke about not having Mane or Salah. We know they can go mental on any given time. He's not having Vardy a risk, yeah. He's not having Aguero a risk, yeah. He's not having Jesus a risk, yeah. Sterling, yeah. Mahrez, yeah. They're all risks if you don't have them. So goes for everybody, doesn't it? I'm not that excited by Leicester's fixture with Watford. I have to say, they've defended the box and they're let's say zonally and positioning a lot better since Nigel Pearson's taken over. I'd be more confident of what Vardy could do against Brighton in the following fixture in game week 31, actually. So no, I'm not actually big on the idea of Vardy. Yeah, cool, he can return in any game, can he? But he wouldn't be at the top of my list of fears, actually. I'd probably more fear going without Mane. He's probably the biggest one for me. FPL Canals in afternoon, everyone. Hello, mate. We've got an article coming up from Neil, our Stato correspondent, coming up a little later today on the use of substitutes and how that may affect FPL. Keep an eye out for that tonight. I've got a great one from FPL Badger Mark, on Norwich correspondent, coming out this afternoon as well. And Bradley Parker did a very thorough piece last night, which we released quite late, on basically every single individual who's part of the Wolves squad. You can find that quite easily on my timeline at Planet FPL Pod. Alex Tykes in, good afternoon, Alex. Rob Pick says, what your chip strategy of bench boost 30 and then survive within 31? How many single game week players do you think we'll have, and which clubs would you want to cover? I think just to cover off, Rob, sort of Liverpool Wolves would be top of the list for that. So yeah, I'm Trent, Jimenez, Lascelles is where I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm not big on Lascelles. It just affords me better things. That's where my current thinking is. It's not 100% locked in, but I think that's the way I'm going to go. I think Liverpool and Wolves are the main two for me, because you look at them and go, yeah, good fixtures in both. Leicester's another one. Seen lots of talk about James Justin, particularly on our Patreon Slack channel. A lot of people have been mentioning James Justin. I mean, it's 4.7, likely to play right back at Leicester with Ricardo Pereira out, not just for this season, but potentially the start of next season as well. He's a really interesting one. I wouldn't look at him if you've already got Siyunku, for example. I think that's probably a little bit overkill. But if I had Siyunku, for example, that might be another one who I think, yeah, that's a good one to carry through, perhaps, in terms of potential value and the fixtures as well. It's not rights or wrongs. I think value is going to come into it, Rob, for a lot of people in their decision making who, there's players I'm not considering who people, for example, people who bought Mane 11.5 million, whereas myself, who was on very, very late, I've got a really difficult decision to make, I think. Really difficult decision. Do you want to sacrifice that 0.5 knowing you're probably going to want him back? And then because you've got Mane, it's going to become more difficult to fit in Man City assets. Or are Mane owners just sacrificing? I don't know. Really interesting one, I think, to follow that over the coming days. Mikey 2908 says literally underneath, do you see James Justin as a viable pick? Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. He played in the final game. I think it was played in the final game against Villa, didn't he, before the lockdown? And he also played when they heavily rotated against West Ham United over the Christmas period at the Olympic Stadium. Yeah, he's absolutely viable. Fine pick. I think he's. I would say he's locked in there. I'd be really surprised if Leicester decided to play anyone else in that position. I think back four for them is quite straightforward, isn't it? You would think. The more the question mark would be, say, Chilwell, who no one's looking at because there's obviously heavy speculation with a move to Chelsea, which is something me and Suj was mentioning back as early as January, saying we bet it's Chelsea if he's had his head turned. So, yeah, definitely can look at James Justin. If I was picking one now between Justin and Siyunku, I'd go Justin. I would take the chance. Perlo's Pen says, my bench boost is coming down to this. What do you think? Fleck, Alonso and Target or Miller? I don't particularly love either, I'm afraid. Can I take a rain check on that? I don't think Alonso's a lock, by the way. That's probably what I would say that might help you with that. I really, really don't think so. Yes, they were having a bit of form with three at the back before the lockdown, but they're potentially in a different position now with some of the attacking players back fit and that. Does that change things? I don't think he likes the idea of Alonso at left back. I think if it's a back four, you're looking at Azpilicueta left back and Reece James right back. That would be my instinct. So I think Alonso is a very, very dangerous pick. However, it's risk and reward, right? If you'll feel like you've won as soon as if he's in that team, you'll feel like you've won straight away because you've got the potential of the clean sheet against Villa is decent, and obviously he can score any place, any time. So I'm not convinced that he'll play though, and I think for a bench boost with an automatic wanting to go straight into it, he's try and cut out the dangers, and I would see him as a danger. I wouldn't see a danger around any of the other players you mentioned. Even at Target, I'd say, yeah, almost definitely will play twice for Villa. Neil Taylor's abysmal. So on that basis, Pirlo's Pen, I would favour option B of McGinn, Bellerin and O'Connell. But that doesn't sound like a better trio than the other trio. Brad Lewington says, who will you be captaining Champ Man this week? I haven't decided, Brad. It will be Van Nistelrooy or Viduka. I have not decided yet. I haven't decided what my transfer is yet either, to be honest. I need to come down a bit in value. I've got to get off Poyet. Obviously, we now know Davizas is out as well. So I'm 2 down already again, having only managed to get 8 on the pitch in the week from what looks like a strong squad from players that always start. So I'm a little concerned about that. Hence, I want to get another one in. I'm planned ahead sort of game week 23 where I want to come off Hariderson and get Ashley Cole in. So I need to make an extra little bit of budget for that. I'd also really like to roll this week because we'll get the information on potential FA Cup replays and whether the double game weeks in 23 will happen or not. And for those who are not playing Champ Man FPL, none of that made any sense. So don't worry about it. But Brad knows. Heavy Finger 7 says, cheers, lads. He's only one of me, mate. It's only one of me today. How you doing? Hope everything's well. Paul Coleman saying hi to everyone. Hello, Paul. Joe Finley Batter saying thoughts on Jimenez versus Jota. Jimenez for me. Jota is in my squad as well, by the way. I have both at the moment. So I think it's quite well placed to answer that one. I have value in both as well. Definitely Jimenez for me. I've seen a lot of people speaking last night on Twitter. So a few people in the FPL community speaking about Raul Jimenez and his other half are due to have a baby soon. Some of the investigative people seem to have worked out that this baby is due around about game week 36. Now, Wolves play Arsenal in 33, Sheffield United 34, Everton 35. It might be that I decide to come off Jimenez at the start of that run. I may even decide not to use him if I free hit in game week 32. I'll decide when I get there. But yeah, Jimenez for me, much less likely to be rotated than Jota. I think the system generally at the moment is if Traore is going to play, Jota's not going to play through the middle. I think Jota's had far better returns when he's played right up top with Jimenez. So I actually think that's quite a straightforward call. One of the reasons I ended up with Jimenez and Jota was a feeling that they were going to, when Traore was having the doubts about the shoulder and that, was that they were going to go back to sort of 5-3-2 with Jota right up front. I'm less keen on him now. And when you've got the likes of Daniel Prudence and Neto in the background as well, I think you're far more likely to see this 5-2-3/3-4-3 that Wolves play. I think you're far more likely to see that, in which case the appeal of Jota for me is far less. But Bradley would still Bradley would tell you get both. He loves Jota. He absolutely loves him. But I'm sure if you pinned him down, he would say Jimenez, I think. Gravy Davis says, afternoon, James. Pepe or Ozil on a free hit? Ozil of the two. It was interesting, Adam saying yesterday that he thought probably Pepe wouldn't play against Manchester City and that Ozil probably will play both games. Also, it's the difference. It's not a versus, because then what can you do with that extra 2 million, for example? Does that allow you Jack Grealish instead of Douglas Luiz, for example? So you have to weigh that up into the thinking as well. So Ozil, but I'd be honest, I'm not keen on either. I'm not particularly keen on having anyone from Arsenal other than Aubameyang and Leno, personally. I don't expect Leno to keep a clean sheet, but I think there'll be save points that will probably equate to close to a clean sheet by the end of the game week. Excuse me. Andrew Mike says, cheers, James. The sales is a consideration. I'm on Aaron's, but just because of cost. Yeah, it's fine. I've seen a lot. That's why it'd be important to have a look at Mark's article later, FPL Badger. Because I've seen a lot of bench boosts at the moment with Norwich players, Aaron's, Cantwell, Pookie. I'm seeing a lot of that, actually. And that's understandable because Norwich have a good fixture against the Southampton side, who they're 13th in the league. They're on 34 points. They're probably a little bit out of trouble. Also, they're not far enough away to completely take their eyes off the ball. But you would imagine Southampton will certainly get enough points to stay up. And Norwich simply can't fuck about. My problems with, if I look at it that way and say Aaron's versus Lascelles, for example, I absolutely know which one of them is most likely to keep me a clean sheet. It's any Newcastle player. And Norwich are atrocious defensively. So as much as you can look at some of Norwich's fixtures and say, I mean, if you look at Norwich's fixtures up to the end, right? Take out Man City final game. Southampton, Everton, Arsenal, Brighton, Watford, West Ham, Chelsea, Burnley. All right, you can even take out Chelsea and Arsenal, right? Norwich will look at all those other six and think they're very capable of winning those 6 games. And they are capable, by the way. But also, in these games, the opposition are going to be thinking, got to beat Norwich here. So probably leads you towards high scoring encounters, I think. I don't see Norwich winning too many games 1-0 like they did against Leicester, for example. Whether there's anything in that, the fact they beat Leicester at home and Manchester City at home and put in extremely good defensive performance in both of those fixtures, I don't know, because until probably Chelsea in game week 36, you don't really have a fixture like that that's comparable again. Arsenal will play in different ways to the way Leicester do, and then obviously the way Manchester City do. I just think, no, it's not for me, Andy, with the defensive. You're relying on attacking return, I think. Even in those fixtures, Southampton, Everton, I don't anticipate them keeping clean sheets personally. And I wouldn't have a problem with anybody having the likes of Ings, Calvert-Lewin, etc. if that's the way they want to go. Perlo's pen, which, if any, Arsenal players you're going with? I'm going Leno and Aubameyang. That's definite. And I've got a feeling that I'm going to end up with Ceballos, actually. He's just going to fill in for me. It's 5.2. It's not a big deal. I suspect he might play twice. And that might be the way I go. But I'm really not bothered. I was speaking to Adam yesterday about Xhaka. He's like, what's the point? It's like, I play twice, mate. And that's how I've really got no faith in any other Arsenal assets. Adam, very interestingly, spoke about Nketiah as an option. I just feel personally that I want a front three that I all anticipate to score. I think Nketiah, Adam seems to think Nketiah will probably play against Brighton and not against Man City, which then, does that make him appealing? If it was just the one game that you knew of, would you go for it, knowing that, he might play against Man City as well? I don't think you would. So I actually think it's okay to not go free Arsenal as well. I think it's absolutely fine. I think City and Sheffield United are the two teams you definitely want free from. Then Arsenal to consideration. And even with Villa, if you just want to go just Grealish, it's fine. Personally, I want to play it the way I think I'm best playing it, and it is not worrying about he's shit, he might do this. It's what the possibilities are. What's the ceiling of a bench boost if I have Ceballos that plays twice or Tyrone Mings who plays twice? That's why these guys are probably going to go in for me. But whoever that third Arsenal player is, honestly, it will be the 11th player. I'd be more keen on having McGinn and Mings or Target before a third Arsenal player. It's currently how I feel. I don't know where to go with them. I think they'll rotate as well. Saka's another one. Is he going to play twice? If he plays twice, he's interesting. That's Saka, not Xhaka. But I'm not convinced he stays in that team. Kieran Tierney's back fit. I'm not convinced. Stick him in. He might not even play at all. So, yeah, they're a problem, Arsenal, actually. It's why Leno and Aubameyang will be automatics for most people who are free hitting or looking to wildcard shortly after using the unlimited transfers. Heavyfinger7 says, IFAB already decided there should be no more nonsense of referees using the screen just for red cards. However, Premier League decided to implement changes only for next season. All right, fair enough. Sainty says, afternoon, any information on transfer status after game week 30? Restart at 1. I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, Sainty. Can you clarify? And I'll come back to that. Rob Pick says, would you go Aguero to Vardy or Aguero to Rashford in 31 to fund the Mane Salah move? Might even be Calvert-Lewin for me. Really opens up. If I go Aguero to Calvert-Lewin, I've not looked at the money yet, but it probably wouldn't allow me sort of a Ceballos to Mane. But I'm going to look at that sort of heavy change, I think. Yeah, I'm possibly going to look down that sort of route where I think Calvert-Lewin will be the one for me, actually, on the fixture. Yeah, free hit him straight into against Norwich. I quite like the sound of that. So I think I prefer that over Rashford or Vardy, actually. If I go Aguero to Vardy, I probably can't get to Mane, for example. So I personally need to come down further. If it's a choice between the two, Vardy, as I already mentioned, I think I actually prefer the Brighton fixture to the Watford fixture for him. Aditya says Vardy a good option in place of Abraham. Yep, fine. Ali Janigroff. Free hit or bench boost for game week 30. Still got my wild card. I think if you still got your wild card, it's bench boost, in my opinion. but play it your way. There absolutely is not right or wrong. It's very team dependent, even down to people say, what's best? Well, I don't know what's in your team for a start. And also, I don't know what value you've got in players. If you've got excessive value in players, do you want to be selling these guys? If you're up, for example, on Mane, De Bruyne, Jimenez, and a few others, Lundstrom, if you've still got him, do you now want to? Are you in a position where you wanted him back? These guys aren't really leaving your team if you've got massive value in them. I don't think so. Yes, dependent on what you've. With so many things, each individual circumstance is going to be completely different, and genuinely don't feel there's a wrong way to play this. It will be up to you. None of us have been in this circumstance before. We've also, none of us have really, unless we do it in game week 1, which is not something I'd ever advise, is we've never been in that position where we go straight into basically a wild card to a bench boost, right? We normally have to wait that dirty week extra, and someone will get suspended or injured. This is gold, really, isn't it? And even in those first 2 teams as well, the fact that unlike in other future game weeks, and this goes partly for the free hitters as well, and as a benefit is, we're basically going to know where we stand in terms of they're both playing on that first day. It's not a situation where we've got deadlining on the Wednesday and one of the teams that's doubling isn't playing till the Saturday. They're both playing that night. I think information will be limited, but there will certainly be information via websites, etc., in terms of information on team news. If anyone's got any specific injuries, I think we'll get that, unless there's an injury on the day. If they train on the morning of the game and there's an injury, I don't think you're going to know. But that's the only thing that we're not going to know. I think in terms of you brilliant guys like Rockstar, I mean, if he gets team news, fair fucks to him. I wouldn't expect anything like that personally. FPO Andy says, with Dele out for the United game, who do you think will be the midfield 3? Personally, I think it'll be Winks and Lo Celso, then one of Sissoko and Ndombele. Sissoko's got to play, mate. Yeah, for those who listened earlier in the week, the idea of Lo Celso being out 3 months appeared to be a complete red herring. 2 guys who like to fancy themselves in a bit of the Spurs community, who are a bit of copy and paste merchants, decided that they had the inside that Lo Celso was out for 3 months, but always used it with "it's to be confirmed," and silly old me sort of trusted that their original sources were correct. I do know that he had an injury or something, but he is believed to have trained at Spurs over the last 2 days. I think it will be Winks and Sissoko, definitely, Andy. I think the others I'm not sure of. If Sissoko's got to play, has to play against the power that United have got in the counter-attack, has to play. Red Devils 82DC says, hey there, James. Hello. Aditya says, I'm going without Mane, Pogba, good differential, or Mahrez. Both are. I think I'm leaning towards the Mahrez idea, actually. I don't know who posted it, and I would love to have credited them, and I can't remember who it was. But tell you what's really interesting was look back at Man City's fixtures over the Christmas period. Mahrez basically played the most minutes when you've got those congested games together. And I saw a statement as well from Pep saying it's because he's got no muscle in his legs, doesn't get injured, which sounds absolutely bizarre. But actually, if you're going to pick up an injury at the moment, it's very likely to be a muscle injury. Now, if he hasn't got that power of strength there, then he is actually less likely to pick up a muscle injury. And then thinking back further, I was like, well, how many times has Mahrez been injured since he came to the Premier League? I think actually, when he first originally joined Leicester, he missed a little period. But then obviously played all of the title season. Obviously, he's been in and out of City, but I don't think it's been through fitness issues. And I'm leaning to Mahrez. I quite like the idea of that. That's where I think I'm leaning personally. With Pogba, I don't like it. I know there's some suspicion amongst Manchester United people at the moment that he might play ahead and higher than Bruno Fernandes, but I don't think we know. And actually, I don't even think the Tottenham game will necessarily give us the answers, because I think you'll find that Manchester United will set up differently for the Tottenham game and the Sheffield United game. So I think you need more information than even just the one game. I think you need at least 2 games of information to make that decision. And that's why I think for myself, I'll be going without Manchester United in both of those first 2 game weeks. Ian Davis says, what did you think about the eternal derby in Belgrade having 25,000 fans with no social distancing? Ian, didn't know anything about that, mate. But yeah, rock up in my DMs and send me a link for that. I won't remember when I get off the chat. I wasn't aware of that. I presume it was allowed, though. No? Or did 25,000 fans just break into the stadium? Listen, it's up to them, isn't it? With respect. Do I agree with it? No, but I couldn't tell you what the situation of COVID is in Serbia. It might be absolutely fine. No idea at all. Andy Mike says, what are your chat, man? Moves this weekend? Are you looking towards the blank in game week 22? So I kind of covered it a little bit, Andy, and I think you asked that question before I covered it. Stolzers is the most likely for me. He's another fucking injury-prone player, but I might go for it anyway. Poet to Stolzers then has me the money to go from Haridason to Ashley Cole in game week 23. And that will be then me maxed out. Although I am also thinking of selling Van Nistelrooy for Shearer. Not this game week, by the way, just to clarify. But I might even do it for game week 21. I think if Van Nistelrooy plays against Derby, he won't play against Ipswich. That's my instinct at the moment. And I might really go brave. Now, obviously, if I go Van Nistelrooy to Shearer, that suddenly pumps me a lot more money in the bank. However, I have to be aware that I need Van Nistelrooy back at any period. So I haven't decided yet, Andy, is the honest truth. I think I will be Poet Stolzers. That will put me on, I think, 12 players for game week 22. Technically, I don't expect 11 of them to be picked, but it will put me on 12. And I'd be in a position where I had 11 with doubles in 23 if all the doubles went ahead. And my bench would be Crossley, who I'd probably move to a double game week goalkeeper. And then I'd have Stolzers at home to Tottenham and Rufus and Jensen at home to Everton. And if I land in that position, I'd bench boost him, mate. But with that game, the fuck, man, anything will happen. Tom Ford said, what transfer activity can we expect to see from Spurs when the window opens? Absolutely none, Tom. Cheap overseas markets. Perhaps I'd like Spurs to get back to buying young English talent. Like I know Jack Clark has gone back on loan from Leeds and has not had a good season. But if they believe there's a talent like that, go and pay the money for that rather than going and buy the stars. It's the only way Spurs are going to survive at the top levels of the Premier League in the next few years. I don't expect any unless there's a big sale. And the only one you could see going for big money is Kane. And I don't see where, even if Kane did want to leave Spurs, I don't see where anybody will come up with the money for that this summer. Even Manchester United look like they're looking at other targets and that. Wouldn't see a Barca or Madrid being interested in Harry Kane at the moment. So I don't see where Spurs are going to get the source of income unless they decide to cut their losses on like an Ndombele and send him back somewhere. We know there's some interest. He's been linked with Barcelona as well, actually. So the Spurs haven't got too many assets we're going to make money of. They're going to have to strip the squad down and accept they're going to 15 million for Aurea, 15 million for him, and then use that money very wisely. It's the only way. Spurs are not going to be spending big money. I don't know what Jose thought when he rocked in the door, but if he thought there was going to be big money, that man got lied to. And to be fair, he did say from the start, he knows what I'm working with. So now show us what you're working with. Show this great coach that we all thought you were 10 years ago, mate. Red Devils 82 DC says, which single game week is you eyeing up for the opening game apart from pool players? I think Wolves is the target, in my opinion. I've kind of covered that already. Chris was James, I'm in a dilemma. Team is okay-ish, but I didn't make transfers during lockdown and I've only got 3 hit left. Should I make a few transfers to cover double game week and remaining fixtures, then 3 hit in game week 38? Well, I think if you're potentially in problem, Chris, I'd be going 3 hits sooner rather than later. That would be my opinion. We was talking, it might have been one of our Patreon pods or a podcast earlier in the week about 3 hit 38 and saying nobody, it literally might be nobody with anything to play for. And then you look at the likes of, Man United, Wolves, Man City will likely have European competition straight at the end of the season. So 3 of the best teams potentially not going to be bothered if they've got nothing to play for. Do a lot of clubs decide to put kids out final game of the season as well if there's nothing to play for? So I think earlier rather than later, Chris. The flip of that is it's all up for grabs. But even we was discussing, Suj said, so if West Ham and Villa are level on points and they play each other in the final game, I said, which team would you buy the assets from? He said, I don't know. And I said, well, neither would I at the moment either. The chances are you'd just avoid it because you wouldn't know and the game would be too big. I mean, who would you really want from West Ham and Villa, even though they were playing each other and it was a crucial game? You wouldn't. You'd want to watch it, though. I'd still be watching Spurs, by the way. Gravy Dave, Pookie or DCL? I prefer DCL, actually, Gravy Dave, but that's a very close one. I know Pookie's, it seems there's an undercurrent where he's quite popular at the moment, and I'm okay with it. It's not a bad player to sign, not at all. DCL would be my favourite there. Paul Coleman says, what are you more excited about the return of, FPL proper or 10 games at once in Champman FPL? It's the later for me, but hoping it's going to goals everywhere. Yeah, I mean, looking forward to tomorrow more because that's what's coming first. I'm looking forward to doing this draft tonight with some of my patrons for FPL because I've never done that sort of thing before. So, yeah, no, I mean, I'm looking forward to Spurs playing is what I'm looking forward to most. That's what I've missed more than anything is Spurs. Admittedly, this time next week, I don't know how I'm going to feel knowing that they're playing at White Hart Lane and I'm not going for the first time in 30 years. But yeah, I've missed Spurs. That's what I've missed most. I've missed Spurs more than I missed football. Definitely. Until they let me down next Friday night, in which case it'd be fuck it again. But I'm in that feeling now. I want to watch my team play. That's what I want most right now. I want to watch Spurs. Ian Davis says, I think one of the Brighton centre-backs would make a good signing for Spurs. Yeah, if they're not out on the piss all the time. It's a bit of a drinking culture at Brighton. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that or not. Perlo's Pen. Thanks, James. My thinking on Alonso is that Reece James is injured. Is that right, that Reece James is injured? I'm not sure if that's right or wrong, but if he is, then that potentially changes the game a little bit. In which case, yes, it could well be Azpilicueta at right back and Emerson at left back. Adichie says, if I'm giving up Mane, who would be a good option? Oh, that's too broad a question for me to answer. A Manchester City asset. A man Dylan, in a free hit, which combo is better? Mane, Mahrez or Fernandes, Sterling? I like Mane, Mahrez off that, actually, personally. Gary Smithson, yo, he says it's all about Ruud van Nistelrooy for Champman FPL. FPL Canal says, if you could only have one for the double game week, Sterling or Aguero, it'd be Aguero for me, mate. Ian Davis says, how can Wolves not play Traore? He is unstoppable. And Robertson admitted it was his hardest game of the season when he had to face him. Yeah. But what about the impact he can have as a substitute, potentially? We don't know his fitness levels. This is why also, to go back to one of the earlier questions, I would definitely prefer Jimenez over Jota because I agree that I think Traore will play, personally. He's one of the players I've highlighted that I'm not sure how well he'll do. I feel like he's that sort of player who needs to hear the roar of the crowd to get him running at people. I think with that in mind, it's not coincidental that a lot of his returns this year have been in games where more high-profile opposition, for example, like the assist against Liverpool, the goals against Man City, even his returns against Tottenham as well. It's a high-profile opposition. And I'm not sure there's a coincidence in that. And Wolves have nice, tasty fixtures to start with. But yes, I would anticipate Traore to play. Ricky Saunders in this afternoon. Hello, buddy. Ian Davis says, Norwich could beat Arsenal. Have you watched their defence this season? Of course, Ian. And I spent a lot of time laughing for it, mate. Lamichi Okamoto, thoughts on Mason Mount? Okay, yeah. My thoughts on Chelsea at the moment, it's just personal. I want to avoid. I haven't got a clue how they'll start, even in system. Never mind personnel on the opening day against Villa. So Chelsea are not under any consideration for me. I do absolutely want to look at them once I've got the information for the period between 32 and 36. Yes, I want that information first. Gary Smith saying, yeah, those in the old chat. Give the vid a like if you're enjoying it. Ian Davis, you should avoid all Arsenal players apart from Aubameyang. I'm not particularly against that, Ian. Although I think Leno is worth it, mate. I think. Gary Smith's stuck in a couple of Arsenal players. He's laughing at my Ceballos idea. John Harris, afternoon, James. Still undecided on what to do with my team. What's your opinion on the importance of team value for these last 9 game weeks? Yeah, it'd be very personal to you and to every other individual as well. Thing is, right, if you've got a player, let's say you don't want Mane anymore and you think that you're definitely not going to go back to him for whatever reason, you've decided you want to go like KDB and Sterling and whatever, then sell him. Then sell him. But if you're going to want him back for game week 31 and you're up 1 million on him, then I think you should probably try and maneuver a way that he stays in. That would be my instinct. Each circumstance on that will be very different. I've got 0.1 ups on a lot of players at the moment, a lot. And if they perform well in game week 30, they're all likely to hit an increase in value, I think. I'm not waiting for that. Sod that. No, I don't want them in there now. They're going. So the advice would be don't overplay it. But yeah, in the circumstance where like you're 1 million up on a player that you don't want to sell and you want back in your team in game week 31, I think you should probably find a way to keep them. Ropick says, is your captain plan Aguero? Yes, that's my plan at the moment. I don't think Aguero will start both games. It's important to say. But I look at it, if I look through all them game week 30 fixtures, if you said to me Aguero was going to start at home to Arsenal or start at home to Burnley, and they were the given fixtures, to be honest, scrap the home, playing Arsenal or playing Burnley, and those were single game week fixtures, and I knew 100% that Aguero was going to play, I captain him. That's my point. And so anything on the second game would actually be a bonus. If we break it down into single game week fixtures, which player of all 20 teams, if they had one game and it takes City against Arsenal or Burnley, which one player is most likely to go mental? Now, I'm sure there's quite a few of you possibly think Sterling or KDB, for example. But it's definitely, for me, a Manchester City player over knowing who's going to play an attacking position for Chelsea against Villa, or United or Spurs assets against each other, or Jimenez against West Ham, or Liverpool assets against Everton. No, it's still City. It's City for me. The flip is, and I know a few people are going to go Aubameyang because he's highly likely to play twice. But again, if it was Arsenal against Brighton, would you captain Aubameyang? Maybe you would, and that's absolutely okay. The Manchester City game's got to be a bonus. Aguero, if Aguero starts 2 of those games, I think he'll get at least 3. If he starts 1, I'd certainly back him to score. I'd be very, very surprised if he didn't. So Aguero is my choice. Almost certainly, Rob. And now having said that, I've kind of got to fucking follow through on it now. And I hear on Tuesday he's out with an injury, in which case I'll just go Jesus, by the way. Graham S. Assume most will be going triple Sheffield United. How would you rank their assets, assuming Lundstrom starts? Well, if Lundstrom starts, then Lundstrom is the very best asset. Simple as that. We don't know if he will. We know he played in a friendly the other day, and I think he scored twice. I think Lundstrom is highly likely to probably play one of the games. I don't know about 2. They are both good fixtures, the Villa and Newcastle. I think Sheffield United are capable of keeping clean sheets in both of them. I don't think they will keep clean sheets in both, but they're very, very capable. I wouldn't rank Lundstrom near the top for me, personally, because I don't think he'll start twice. If you say now that he's playing twice, then every single one of us would have him. I would go Henderson first. And it doesn't mean I'll have Henderson, by the way. You just asked me to rank them. Henderson, Baldock, Stevens. I'd go O'Connell, Egan, and Basham all over Fleck. Would be my instinct. But I could end up with Fleck, for example. But if you ask me to rank them, I'd go all of them defensive first. Tom Hyom says, afternoon, James. What do you make of discussions surrounding some players benefiting from a more training match type atmosphere? I've gone McGinn to El Ghazi is one that may benefit supposedly. Yeah, Adam Hopcroft said that about El Ghazi on Clash of the Correspondents last week. Who knows? Possibly. I've not thought about it too much though, because again, we will be assuming. So I don't know. But yeah, there really could be something in that certain players intrinsically get affected by the noise of a crowd or don't perform as well. Perhaps that more relaxed environment. Is it going to be more relaxed environment though for Villa? So he might do very, very well in training. What does he do, crowd or no crowd? What does he do when he realises the pressure that Aston Villa have got to start getting points on the board very, very quickly? Suddenly, you've gone from the same situation of no crowd and no crowd, but to no pressure and pressure. So does that have an impact? We don't know. That's the reality. Sainty said, go back to his early ones. I had 2 transfers remaining before restart. Will they be still there after game week 30? Or will it be 1 transfer as normal? I can't find any information. As far as I'm concerned, Sainty, 1 transfer. After you've got unlimited transfers, it's like game week 1. Forget what was going there before. You'll come back to 1 transfer, I would have thought. Obviously, anybody that free hits, definitely you will have 1 transfer afterwards. That's definite. Paul Coleman says, do you think Guendouzi will get any minutes? Yes, possibly, Paul. And he's of interest because he's 4.2 million, isn't he? So you think, oh, that could be the one. I'd be keen, though, I think, to pay an extra 0.2 for Douglas Luiz of Villa, I think. And he might be a player that I end up with as, yes, sit there, you fucker. Gary Smith saying on Mahrez differential, yeah, I like Mahrez pick. Ian Davis thinks Mahrez is wasted at Manchester City. Gary Smith says, imagine if Sane played. Imagine Suj if Sane plays twice and goes mental. What no graphics? Hello. Can't find answer anywhere. If I play an active free hit now, can I keep making changes to my FPL team until deadline? You can keep making changes to your FPL team, yeah. Your free hit team, yeah. Do I need to clarify this again? That if you make transfers and then play your free hit, the transfers you make before activating your free hit will not count. They will be deleted, basically. But if you activate the free hit, you can play with it as much as you want. Yeah, that's fine. Notorious Nerd, is Bellerin a better pick than Leno Tierney, as he may get more minutes being the vice captain? Why is he going to get? He ain't going to get more minutes than Leno, is he? He's going to get attacking returns. Think about it. Probably not. Probably not. Don't forget as well, he's had terrible injury problems, etc. Adams openly admitted on a previous Clash of the Correspondents with us at 352 that he's lost a yard a little bit. It's a very good player still, Bellerin. I wouldn't be on my radar. I'd go Luiz over Bellerin personally, because then there is a greater chance for attacking return from a set piece or free kick or something. Ali Jangarov says, I got team value of 104 million. That's why I'm considering free hit instead of bench boost on wildcard right after. It sucks to lose value on TAA, Salah, Lundstrom and others with no form and data on our hands. Big dilemma. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely fair, mate. Ian Davis, not signing Grealish last year was a massive mistake for Spurs. Thanks, Ian. Tell me about it. Notorious Nerd, Jimenez and Sayis, or Jota and Doherty. Jimenez and Sayis for me. Hipok says, being honest, how excited are you about the FPL returning? Has Chapman almost totally replaced the fun of it? Okay, real talk. Am I excited about FPL returning, as in what I can do with my rank or mini leagues? Or no, I'm not. I'm not. From that aspect, I'm not at all bothered. I am excited to bring you what our product really is to talk about fantasy football. That's what I am infused about, is what me and Suj can do for you over the next 6 weeks or so. That I'm very infused for. So I'm infused to watch football matches other than Spurs for the main reason of analysing them for you on podcasts afterwards. If I wasn't into fantasy football, I really don't think I would watch a lot of football. Because the whole behind closed doors thing for me, it's awful. Now, it might be something that I get a little bit more used to. I think knowing that it's what it's got to be, I will accept it better. Like knowing I can't go to Spurs on Friday. I have to accept it. So might be something to get used to, but I'm more enthused about us being able to, these streams on a Friday, for example. I mean, next week it's going to be middle of game week, but the following week is Friday deadline, I think. So, this stream on a Friday in 2 weeks is very much going to be transfer ideas that are going to be lastminute.com. It's going to be quite frantic and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that sort of thing. Notorious Nurse says, what do you make of news of City ban verdict before the last 2 games of the season? Is that when they've said it's likely to be? I mean, FPL Pringle said it wasn't likely to be till July. I wasn't even convinced that we'd get it before the end of the season. It is what it is, isn't it? It's nothing you can do. If that's when it's going to be, that's when it's going to be. It's going to probably be heartbreaking if a Spurs or an Arsenal, for example, force their way into 5th from nowhere, and then it gets found out that City get reinstated in the Champions League and they realise they're still, 5 points off Chelsea or Man United. Then, yeah, but I guess it's part of the glimmer that keeps it alive for Arsenal and Tottenham as examples. I think Wolves and Sheffield United can still finish 4th. I don't think Tottenham and Arsenal can. But I also do think Tottenham and Arsenal can still finish 5th in theory. I also think Arsenal would be the more likely of the 2, by the way. But I can't really see either of them doing anything to put serious threat on the Champions League places. For Tottenham or Arsenal to finish 5th, I think one of Manchester United or Chelsea needs to have a very bad end to this season, and it also requires Wolves and Sheffield United to dip below a level that they've shown, and that would be to finish 5th. 4th is, forget it. There's no way Chelsea and United are both going to drop off, and Wolves and Sheffield United have drop-offs in what they've shown ability-wise as well. That's it. At the moment, Wolves and Sheffield United are both better sides than Tottenham and Arsenal. That's a reality. Storm Legacy says, good afternoon. Trust you're well. I am, mate. I hope you are too. Cram says, hi, James. How are you? I'm very good, buddy. How are you doing yourself? Notorious Nerd, who would you keep, DCL or Harvey Barnes? I would go DCL. Who would you pick, Grealish or Fleck? Grealish. Karam says, my picks from City are KDB, Mahrez and Laporte. Got 2 out of 3 there, mate. I think I'm going to edge for Edison. I think that's the way I'm going to go. I haven't decided yet. I might even try and force Mahrez, KDB and Aguero. Yeah, I'm sure that's what I bust last night. I can't look at the moment. I haven't got it with me. But yeah, I think I've set up now Mahrez, KDB and Aguero. I think that's what I had set up. Ian Wilson says, would you captain Aguero against Arsenal if it was a single game week? You thought about a double in the same game week of City and Brighton. I think I'd probably go Aubameyang, actually. Because I'd have to know that Aguero was going to play, right? Gary Smith saying he likes Egan as a shout for Sheffield United. Tim Lum says, hi, James and chat. Hello, Tim. Gary Smith says it's raining here. It's been a bit shit the last few days in the UK. That's because it knows football's returning, you see. Graham S says, cheers, James. Think I'll be going Fleck plus whichever 2 defensive goalkeepers I can afford. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of that as well. Affordability. That's why you're getting names mentioned like Douglas Luiz and Ceballos and Guendouzi. That's why these names are getting mentioned, because they're your last picks, right? They're the guys who really you're going, Douglas Luiz gets me 4 points. That'll do. I'm not expecting anything else. That's fine. He's an enabler to allow me more power elsewhere. That's part of it. I think a trap you can fall into in double game weeks is spreading it a bit more and going, I'd like 7 points off him and 7 points off him. Yeah, that's great. What I'd really like is 4 points off Douglas Luiz and about 14 points off Kevin De Bruyne. And then that's going to give me 4 more than the 2 7s together, for example. Paul Tinkler says, are you going to try and watch every Premier League game on TV? No, I'm not. I anticipate a lot for me. I'm working from home, etc. at the moment. A lot for me will be catching up on games because I've got a little one, right? He ain't going to be letting me watch too many fucking games at like 6 o'clock kickoffs. I've got no chance, almost. Unless I fuck off out the room, watch it on a phone, watch it on a mobile. This iPad, it's not necessarily ideal. I've got to give some respect to the other one. I think what I'll do a lot with 8 o'clock games is take them and avoid the score. Take them, Sky Plus them, whatever you call it these days. That's showing me fucking age now. And I'll stay off Twitter on that, and I'll probably watch them like 11 o'clock midnight or so. I think I can envisage days where I have to stay off my phone, unfortunately, and I watch 3 games back to back at like 10 p.m, midnight, and 2 a.m. And you might be, what are you doing, James? Well, if I need to cover it for you guys the next morning on the podcast, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch as much as I can. Where there's certain days where there's like 4 games kicking off at 6 o'clock, then it obviously becomes problematic. But I think me and Suj might try, and in that case, we'll plan that, and I'll give him 1 game to watch, and I'll watch another one thoroughly and try and get all the extended highlights of the other 2 or something. Storm Legacy says, getting Aguero and Jesus in on the free hit. I'd like to think I'm covered on the number 9 situation at City over the 180 minutes. You'd like to think, but we never know. What No Graphic says, cheers for answering. No problem, mate. You had more clarity than the official FPL site. It's no surprise, is it? Notorious Nerd, Leno and Reina, a good goalkeeper pair. We think avoid Reina. Adam Hockcroft was saying last week, doesn't even think he's assured to play. He thinks Nyland can play. And Tom Heaton's quite close to fitness as well. So I think when you've got absolute security in the other 3 goalkeepers, just don't bother. It's not worth the chance. If he plays twice, he'll probably pick up a few save points on that, similar to Leno. But I wouldn't bother. We will end with Lamichi Okamoto, who says, Mahrez or Sterling. I'm going to say Mahrez. And thoughts on Pepe. Shit, but capable. And on that bombshell, we will end the stream. Thank you very much. That hour flew by. Thanks for everybody who joined in, has given the video a like and whatnot. So if you haven't, share the love for Planet FPL, be much appreciated. Suj really likes it when I say that sort of shit. Other than that, have a really good weekend, guys. Enjoy yourselves. It's our final one before football comes back. So give your partners and your kids and your family a little bit of attention. In terms of content, slightly different next week in terms of what we're going to do. The normal podcast on Monday. We'll obviously take a lot of your cues in on Twitter, and we'll cover everything we can. The Monday pod and the People's Poll pod on Tuesday, there's so much stuff in there on strategy. I'd recommend catching up on them, certainly. Definitely catch up on the Clash of the Correspondents with Johnny and Adam yesterday, and from the other Adam, Hockcroft, and Tomo FPL_Blade from last week. It's all 4 teams covered by our fan correspondents of the teams that got double game weeks. And on Tuesday, we're going to have another one. Ricky Saunders and Gary Robinson is my cap plan. We're going to talk about Tottenham, Manchester United. Both sides very interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of interest in United at the moment, so we'll certainly speak about that. And add into the mix that it's Mourinho's old team. I'm sure he'll get a mention or 2. But we'll certainly, me and Ricky, will talk a bit about Kane and Son and Spurs assets and that as well. So we're going to do that Tuesday rather than usual Thursday. So you've got that before deadline. Wednesday, we'll go very, very early on releasing our Sky podcast. So for the Sky players, you've got that nice and early before the deadline. Obviously, Sky players have a little bit longer than FPL players as well in terms of they can go right up to kickoff. And I think on Thursday, we'll do another main podcast to review just the first 2 games, because a lot of us are going to have 11 players or so. We'll obviously watch both games, both of us, I'm sure. So we'll review that. We'll look forward to the weekend fixtures. And I think what's going to be important on that, and the reason we don't have anything planned into the schedule for that, is for us to talk about what did it feel like to watch Premier League football behind closed doors. We'll do that Thursday. I'll do this again next Friday. Champ Man stuff will continue. Just a pointer for the Champ Man FPL players. The Wednesday night stream this week will be on Tuesday night. Not Wednesday, it will be on Tuesday to obviously avoid the restart of the Premier League for this particular game week, and obviously so you've got clear headspace for your FPL decision making on the Wednesday. Other than that, all that leaves me to do is say thank you very much, ciao for now, and for the benefit of those on the audio, cue music please, man, ciao.